this world. Okay, and I got this one from like I said, I'm a huge Notre Dame fan. The Notre Dame football coach, Lou Holtz, said you have to always have 4 things in the world, in this world. Number 1, you have to have something to do. So something to do, something you're passionate about. You have your sports, but sports should never define your life. Sports need to enhance your life. So there's got to be things you love to do even outside of sports. Clubs, activities, positive things that you're getting involved in. Okay? So you have to have something to do, something you're passionate about. Okay? You need someone to love. That's number 2. You need someone to love. You have your family, you have your friends, you have your brothers and sisters on your team. Doesn't necessarily mean you have the same last name. Doesn't mean you have the same address. But it means you don't let one another down. You feel like quitting in your games, you feel down on yourself, you push a little bit harder because the people standing next to you. Look at the military, okay? Extreme example. The reason why the military is a success because they work together as a team. Leaders understand that. Leaders understand that the power of we is greater than me. Okay, so we is greater than me. You have to have someone to love. You have to have people in your life that you love. And really, if you have one true friend in this world, you should consider yourself very lucky. It was a big thing for me when Facebook first came out in college. My roommate and I, we had a competition who could get more friends, right? So that was a big thing. But really, we knew that it's not really about how many acquaintances you have. It's how many true friends you have. And that's very tough to come by. So don't feel bad about yourself or don't feel down if you feel like you're not walking around with a huge group or clique around you. If you have 1 or 2 close friends in this world, you're a very lucky person. Okay? And the other thing is I put a shout out to my brother back there is that my brother was always my best friend. So we were very lucky.
Thank you.
I was real fortunate when I was a junior in high school. My younger brother came into the school as me, the same school as me. We were on the same team. We took a cooking class together. We drove the teacher crazy.
Better believe we're filming this.
We're filming it. So, but the point is, your siblings are very important people to you. So if they're in the school or they're not, you should stay close to them because you know what? When I look back and I think in high school, there's maybe a handful of friends that I still talk to. And there's other groups of friends I know, they still hang out with each other. They still have that group in high school. But a lot of those people, they go in different directions. Eventually they start having families. And your siblings are people you're the most likely to stick to. So, when you go through these high school years of, kind of finding out more about yourself, learning more about yourself, becoming more of an individual, don't forget your family. Don't forget your siblings because they're people you're going to stick close to you. So think about that. But again, you don't have to have a huge circle of friends around you. If 1 or 2 friends, you consider yourself lucky. You don't have to be the person walking around with the most people by your side. Okay, a lot of times people do that. It's really just an insecurity. All right, I don't know where I was going with that. Oh, okay, the four things you need in this world. Something to do, something you're passionate about. You need someone to love. You need something to believe in. Number 3 is something to believe in. Now, I'm not pushing my beliefs on anyone else, but you've got to know what you stand for. You've got to know what you believe in. Okay? When we work with sports teams, we give them, now I'm going to go off on a little bit more of a tangent. We go with 4 principles. Before every practice, we want our team saying 4 things. Number 1 is I'm thankful for the opportunity to compete. Maybe you want to write this on a separate sheet, okay? 4 principles for success and mindset. Number 1, I'm thankful for the opportunity to compete. You're lucky to have a healthy mind and a healthy body. You go to any local hospital, you can see, not everyone has a healthy mind and body. You're very lucky. Did anyone ever break a bone or get stitches during athletic season? Get sick, mono, any of that? How did that feel when you were out? Stinks, right? It was terrible, right? It was horrible. Because now you lose the opportunity to compete. So you have to remind yourself. A lot of times we think so much about winning. And look, I'm all about winning. I was always trying to be a champion. My goal is to be a state champ, a national champ. So I'm all about winning and being successful. But sometimes you think too much about winning. You forget that it's an opportunity. You put too much pressure on yourself. So reminding yourself, you're thankful for the opportunity to compete. Number 2 is reminding yourself that when you're competing, you're aggressive and you're relentless. You got to be the one to go. Obviously, you want to be a team player. We have individual sports, we have team sports. So aggressiveness and relentlessness look different in each sport. But the key is, you got to go for it. Be the one to go. Okay, there's a time to pass the ball, and there's a time to shoot the ball. And you need to know, you have to be a good teammate, you have to know when to pass, you have to know when to shoot. And when that opportunity is there, and you know it's your time to shoot, take the shot. Be bold. Be bold. Okay, number 3, and this is where I was trying to get to with this whole subset of principles right here, is I have no fear of losing or making mistakes. That's key. Number 3 is I have no fear of losing or making mistakes. And with that one, that's big. That's what slows down most athletes. Most of the teams we work with, most of the athletes we work with, this is the major problem. We don't want to let down our coaches. We don't want to let down our parents. We don't want to look bad in front of our friends. You know, we're afraid of losing. You can't have any fear of losing. You can't have fear of losing or making mistakes. The most successful people fail the most. Think about that. The most successful people fail the most. Who here's a big baseball fan? Who knows a lot about baseball history? A little bit? Okay, who has the most wins of all time? Who has the most losses of all time? Cy Young. Okay, so the baseball, whether or not you're a baseball fan, the pitcher, and they named the Cy Young Award after the MVP of pitchers, they get the Cy Young Award. Doesn't matter if you're a baseball player. The key is knowing that the most successful pitcher was also the least successful in some ways. Okay? So we get down on ourselves when we lose a game, when we make a big mistake, we get down on ourselves. They named the pitching award after the guy who was the most losses of all time. Who was the most strikeouts of all time in baseball? Who got struck out most times? No, that's right. It's Reggie Jackson. Okay, who's Reggie Jackson? Mr. October, 3 home runs in the World Series, Baseball Hall of Famer. Before my time too. But the key there is the guy who struck out the most times in baseball. He's in the Hall of Fame. He's in the Hall of Fame. Pete Rose got the most hits. He also made the most outs. The Michael Jordan quote I like the most out of all of them is that he says, you know, I was cut from my high school basketball team. I lost over 500 games in my career. 23 times I was trusted to take the game-winning shot by my team, and I missed. I failed over and over in my life, and that's why I succeed. Think about that. That's powerful. That gives you goosebumps. All right? He's lost over 500 games. Cut from his high school basketball team. 23 times, game on the line. He got the shot, missed. He's failed over and over, and that's why he succeeds. So we have to have no fear of losing or making mistakes. Okay? One of the things I like doing is studying. I like history. I told you that before. I like studying the great warriors of all time, because when I was competing, I thought of myself as a warrior. And when I look at the samurais, the Spartans, you see 300? Okay.
Spartans!
Exactly. Ahoo! I should have the stick in hand to be a little bit better. The Spartans, the samurais, and the Aztecs. The Spartans, the samurais, and the Aztecs, they have 2 things in common. Number 1, they have no fear of death. You watch documentaries on them, they weren't afraid to die. Why? That goes back to what we were saying here on the 4 things you have to have. Something to believe in. The Spartans, the samurais, the Aztecs, and you bring it right now to our military. You look right at the military. They know what they believe. They have a code. They have an honor system. They know their values. They know their faith. They know what they believe. Okay? So, that's why, again, for both of those lists we have, you have to have something to believe in. We said you need to have something to do, someone to love, something to believe in. This is why. You have something to believe in. The greatest warriors of all time, you look at the military now, they know what they believe in. And also, having no fear of losing or making mistakes. That's why that's number 3 in our mindset principles. If they could overcome the fear of death, we could overcome the fear of losing and making mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to fail tests. You know, it took, I can think of plenty of times in school where, you know, it didn't work out the way I wanted it to. You got to go in. You got to get extra help. I can't even count on my hands how many times I asked a question in front of my class, and everyone's like, we already talked about this. Why don't you know that? You get laughed at by your friends. You hear the snickers, People laugh. It's like you think that, they think that I already knew that, or they knew it, or I'm a little bit behind. Maybe I look dumb in front of them. That's okay. The most important thing is that you understand the material. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. You got to ask. If you don't ASK, you can't GET. If you don't ask, you can't get. So you have to feel good about putting yourself on the line. And one of the great martial artists of all time, he was like a, I don't know, 5th-degree black belt, something like that. When he got buried, he was black, like I said, he was a black belt. He got buried in his white belt. Why? Because he said the reason why he was so successful was because he approached life from a white belt mentality. He wasn't afraid to make mistakes. He was always open to learn. So this black belt got buried in his white belt because he was always a learner. He was always a student. So think about that, okay? And then our 4th mindset principle, so we're on the second list you have here. The 4th mindset principle is I never ever give up. I never ever give up. And I know that sounds like such common sense, but think about times in the game where you make a mistake and you quit for the next, you quit on yourself for the next few minutes or the next few seconds. You can't ever give up. You have to keep fighting back. Like I said before, one of my favorite movies is the whole Rocky series. How many people seen Rocky? Okay. What people like about Rocky it's not the fact that he's a winner. He got his butt kicked in a lot of his fights. What people like about Rocky is he takes a great beating and he keeps coming back. So pride yourself on being the person who can take a beating and keep coming back. Whether it's in school, whether it's people making fun of you, whether it's, whatever it may be. School, sports, life. You take the beating, you keep coming back. The person who keeps coming back is going to be the one who's successful. Okay? And that brings us to 4 on our other list. I really went in a funny order with this. Number 4, we said we need 4 things. Something to do, something you're passionate about, someone to love, something to believe in, and number 4, something to hope for. And that's really what today is all about. Having something to hope for. Having goals. Having goals. Your something to hope for is these goals. Okay, what you're trying to accomplish. And having that reason greater than reality. People who have big dreams can accomplish big dreams. So keeping that in mind. Something to do, something you're passionate about, someone to love, something to believe in, and most importantly, something to hope for. Shawshank